Let's talk about why your finger is drooping, why it looks like this, why you can't straighten it out. If your finger looks like this, that's called mallet finger. So that's actually a pretty stubborn and frustrating little injury to have. It doesn't seem like it would be a big deal, but it's actually quite a big deal, and it's one of the more stubborn injuries we see in the hand clinic that I work in. Typically, it happens from a ball hitting it or some type of hard hit to the finger. But honestly, it can happen randomly too. I've seen people develop mallet finger just from pulling the sheets over the bed. Their finger gets hung up in the sheets and it messes it up. It's often not even a very painful injury, so people think, oh, it'll just heal on its own. But let me tell you, if your finger is doing that, you need to go get it looked at, because it's not going to heal on its own. It's going to heal, and it's going to heal like that, and you're never going to be able to straighten it out again. So you need to take this seriously. So there's a couple different things to think about with mallet finger. One would be if a fracture accompanies it. So that would be where an x-ray would come into play. They check to see if that little tendon avulses off the bone and pulls a little fragment of the bone with it. So let me quickly tell you how the tendon works. So the extensor mechanism of your finger is quite complex, so I won't go too deep into it. But it trifurcates as it crosses the MP joint, splits into three. One goes to the side, one goes down the middle, one goes to the other side. And the side pieces form and meet at the end of this little joint. They form and meet at the end. So they both run laterally down to the finger there. It's called the terminal tendon. It attaches to your distal phalanx along the back side. That is what pulls that finger straight. And when it pulls loose, sometimes when it pulls the fragment of bone with it, then it's required that a surgeon goes in there and puts a pin through the end of your finger and pins the bone together, and sometimes even the pin in through the tendon to kind of get all of that to heal back down. And then you're required to stay in a finger splint for the next 6 to 8 weeks, and there's a long, lengthy process there. The more common way to do it, though, is just a mallet finger. That's more of just a tendinous injury, where you injure the tendon without a bony fragment, without a fracture. And in this case, typically you can put it in what's called a Stax splint, S-T-A-X, or you can go get a custom one made where it just immobilizes the DIP joint. So you've got your PIP joint and your DIP joint. A common thing that people will do that messes them up big time when they have a mallet finger is they put themselves in a splint that immobilizes the entire finger. Huge mistake. Don't do that, and don't let whatever healthcare clinic you go to do that. That's going to create unnecessary stiffness at your PIP joint, and that can be a much bigger challenge than people realize. If you immobilize that PIP joint too long, you can develop some pretty significant problems. So you need something that immobilizes from the middle phalanx down, right below that crease, from there down, just that joint, and you want to keep it perfectly straight. Typically, the minimum time required for the mallet finger to heal that is not a fracture would be 4 weeks. So you would keep it immobilized perfectly straight, that DIP joint, for 4 weeks. Now, you would still be able to bend from that joint, and if you're wearing a correct splint, so you could still bend from that joint, you just wouldn't bend from that joint. And you've got to be very careful as you're taking your splint on and off to clean your finger, because if you take that splint off and your finger droops, then you have to start all over. Typically, is how the protocol works. So when you're taking it off, you need to have a table underneath it. That way, that finger stays straight and there's no drooping that occurs. You want that tendon to kind of tighten back up, scar back down to your bone. That way the extensor mechanism is strong enough and sturdy enough to actually extend your finger all the way. So if your kid or you or somebody you know recently took a hit to the finger and they're wondering why their finger's drooping, it's mallet finger. You can help them out. First step I would tell them is to go to their nearest walk-in clinic that is orthopedic focused. Don't just go to any random old ER, because they likely won't know what they're talking about. You need to go to an orthopedic clinic that deals with ortho-related injuries. Then they're more likely to get some good information. Typically, they would need to do an x-ray, like I said, to make sure that there's no fracture that has occurred with the tendon injury. If there is a fracture, then that is when it requires pinning. If there's not a fracture, then typically you would just immobilize it in a little DIP joint, immobilization extension splint that is below the PIP joint. So PIP joint, DIP joint, you just want to immobilize the DIP joint. Don't immobilize a joint that has nothing wrong with it. Common sense, but for whatever reason, not a lot of healthcare clinics seem to know that. I've seen more than one patient walk into me with a big bulky splint on, and they develop so much finger stiffness, it's not even funny. And they still have mallet finger too, because no one ever educated them on how to take it on and off. So then let's talk about what happens once you've reached the end of your 4 weeks, or if you've had the pin in there and once you've reached your 6 to 8 weeks and the surgeon removes the pin. It's not like you go from wearing that splint and the entire time to not wearing it at all. You actually slowly, methodically wean off of the splint and monitor for any extensor lag. Any lag where it just gets stuck down like that or starts doing that again, then you have to go back to wearing the splint full time. If it doesn't develop a lag, you're good. But typically how it works would be you would come out of the splint for 1 hour a day, then 2 hours a day, then 3 hours a day, then half the day. Then maybe you would just wear it maybe at night. Then maybe you would sleep in it every other night. The whole time you're monitoring for any lag that starts developing. And if the finger starts drooping back down, then you know to go back into the splint and wear it for more time. This does not address all your concerns, but mainly this is just to tell you the seriousness of the mallet finger. That way you take it seriously. If you notice your finger started doing that in the recent past, then you need to go get it looked at. Also, one other way you could develop it would be if you cut your tendon. Like you slice it in the kitchen working, you slice it, and then that's another way you could do it. So, hope that helps.